Hello, humans, and welcome to another episode of Gen X Gamer. Guys, I can't tell you a lot about Raspberry Pis, but I can tell you a lot about business. Let me tell you, one guy that is suffering at arcade right now is the controller. This company is bleeding money, bleeding profits, if you will, which is the worst thing that can happen to investors. Let me tell you, conversations are being had that are not pleasant, right? I could serve the function of a controller, but that's really I don't like that. I don't like the accounting side of the business. I much prefer the analysis side, and analyzing when things go wrong is really my favorite because those are opportunities for growth, right? That's when you're not doing things right. That's when you call my team. But I could tell you that some conversations are being had where somebody's getting cracked over there because this is just shoddy project management, underfunded. Whatever these investors, whatever the owner, whoever's putting the money, right, is just watching his money just burn away because this thing was not done right. Could it be because it was rushed? Could it be because it was underfunded? That we can only speculate, right? I'm sure the arcade one up situation didn't help. However, that doesn't, a poor planning by not knowing that was going to happen to you doesn't mean that you can half-ass the rest of the job. You have to have proper project management and a quality plan that is proven if you're going to make these kind of things. Now, for us, it's easy to sit here and just look at these guys trying to carry water, trying to make, ridiculous statements, trying to defend the indefensible, right? But if you really look at this from the technical perspective and what the challenges are and what kind of money it's going to take, and that is really where the controller, the accountants, the financial team is just yelling bloody murder because it's a couple of weeks already. You don't have an actual issue that you've identified, but even when you do, guys, even when you do, it's going to take some of the most expensive personnel in the company in order to fix it, and that's even if you have it in house. If this is outsourced, now you have to depend on another company to try to save you, and you're now on their time, right? You're going to pay them, but if they're sourced from the outside, they're going to help you whenever they have time. And these are professionals that are highly sought in different industries. Because let's just speculate about the possibilities of the problem, right? Could it be an HDMI signal issue, a negotiation problem, right? The things that the common man would know about. If you read at forums and stuff, you've seen before that people have reported purple, green tints, what have you. It's a known issue with the Raspberry Pi systems and has been reported, in different forums, especially with the Raspberry Pi, where they actually made an improvement of some sort to the graphics, right? That could be a possibility. What does that mean? You have to be able to replicate what the customer's seeing, provide a fix, and then test it, see if it works. That's not something you do in a couple of weeks. That takes time. It takes time and money. Well, what if it's I don't know, it could be an HDMI cable that's faulty. Okay, that's an easier fix, less costly, but it's the same thing. You have to investigate it, right? You have to do the root cause analysis, not only for this hardware issue, but the root cause analysis of why this project is the way it is, why it's managed poorly, right? So at the business analyst level, you not only examine the hardware, you examine leadership, you examine, the people in charge and see exactly where the failures are. I mean, if it's a professional company, right? And that's when you start, trimming the long hairs, if you will. If somebody can't cut the mustard, then you got to replace them if you're able to, or retrain them, and for smaller projects like this, usually companies do not have the resources to do those kind of, major changes all at once. But that's, and we're still only at HDMI cable, right? What if it's a driver or firmware issue? Okay, again, whether it's in-house or outsourced, that's going to cost you money. You're going to have to test it. You're going to have to, develop a fix, and then you have to implement it. all things that cost a lot of money. It could have been caused by the Linux image, by the emulator they chose. It could be a custom display driver. We don't know. It's software based. Again, time, resources, profits lost. Right? What else could it be? I don't know. They've reported corruption in some of the storage, right? It could be the SD cards. That would be, again, an easier fix. But again, that's a cost to the company, a cost to the production of the product, meaning that you're losing profit. So at crucial points, this company has lost money. You lost money because you were late. You had to give a discount. And now you're losing money because of hardware or software issues, whatever it may be. So the accountant and the controller are just going, wait a minute, this is out of control. The scope creep here is going to be unknown so far because we haven't fixed it yet. We've lost on the first shipment of containers, say the first 500 units, and we did that breakdown before, right? They made, they sold it maybe about 300 grand, depending on how, say 500 units, right? 5 to 600, whatever it was. And based on the fact that this guy said that this project, it wouldn't matter to him, giving away, a few cabinets if the project's $1 million or more. So, let's say this project's, 1.5. So if it's 1.5, you're looking at 3 to 4 containers. But you have to sell them at full price in order to keep your profit, at least in order to stop losing your profit. Because in an investment like this, at minimum, because of the risks you're taking in order to produce these cabinets, at minimum, at the end of the day, you want to have at least a 30% net profit on this project. If you didn't get that, then you start questioning yourself. If you end up at 5%, you actually lost money. And you're going to go, wait a minute, Gen X, if they made 5%, how did they lose money? Because you could have taken those $1 million, whatever the hell it is that cost you to make those, you could have put them somewhere else and you could have made more than 5%. Right? That's why you're losing money at 5%. Because the investors are looking at not losing money. Remember, the number one rule of investment is not losing money. And when you're talking about not losing money, you're not looking at only the capital that you have that you started with. You're looking at the capital that you have if you just, say, put it in a bank or you put it somewhere else where you're making 10%. Right? That's why when you take a risk with capital, you have to have returns that outweigh the risk, right? And if you have a high risk of failure, there's no point. You might as well invest in the Intellivision Amico if you're not going to make any money, right? So that's what the controller is looking at. That's why you see the pressure. That's why you're going to see people sweat. That's why people are quiet, because the guys on top, let me tell you, any boss, any owner, any investor would be mad as hell right now, dropping the hammer on these guys going, what the hell are you doing? This is not what you promised. This is not proper project management. And if I would be involved in a project like this, I could see at least one or two heads that I'd be changing right away, because obviously they're not in touch with the market, and this is very poorly planned if this is where you're at this deep into the project, right? Oh man, the clown show will continue. And I don't know what kind of conversations are being had, but I guarantee you one thing. Somebody's yelling. Somebody's getting yelled at, and somebody's really pissed. Somebody will take it in the shorts. And, all we get to see on screen is just a small percentage of the stress and vitriol that is going behind the scenes, because there is nothing greater, nothing sweeter than seeing somebody melt down over losing hundreds of thousands of dollars, let me tell you. I never want to be on the other side of those conversations where I'm part of the team of somebody losing that kind of money. They are getting yelled at in a spectacular manner, and the stress is showing. All right, humans, I just thought I'd brighten your day by pointing out somebody else's misery, at least in a business sense. I hope you guys have a great weekend. I'll catch you on the next one. Take care.